If I can be completely honest, there's no famous musician that I admire per se, mostly because I think anyone who's brave enough to follow their heart and their calling and to make use of their talents and to bring their own personal visions to life or even share their inner world in any capacity is someone to be admired. So there isn't any one person or really any one accolade that I put on a pedestal. And I mean, this doesn't just extend to musicians. I think anyone in general who's brave enough to do that, especially in a world where people's innards are kind of shaved at and exploited, whether that be for profit or even for the sort of psychological prizes we set for the way in which we deal with one another. And all that behavior is learned because certain things are affirmed, either directly or indirectly. And it's really just about being responsible with who we are and what we want. And yeah, anyway. Weird, interesting question, actually. Well, I'm not in a position where I have to choose, luckily. And that's kind of, I guess, of my own making. I haven't split my life into two. And for that, I've had to sacrifice a lot. But personally, I think the sacrifices have been worth it because they've allowed me to sort of blossom without any distractions. And yeah, unfortunately, without any distractions. Yeah, double-edged sword, definitely. Some moments were excruciatingly difficult. I'm using the word moments lightly. There were entire years where I thought, listen, this is definitely rock bottom. Ugh, I don't even want to think about it, honestly. Ooh, the last song I had in my head was a song called Follow You by Kornel Kovac and Aluna. Honestly, this song off of this album, first of all, completely took me by surprise. This album was such a neat little find. But this song in particular has been on a repeat. I knew it the moment I heard the song. It's near the tail end of the album, and I already thought, I was like, ooh, this is gonna be a great album to listen to over and over again. And I was definitely right about that. But that song in particular, Follow You, has been on my mind incessantly since I heard it, maybe 3 days ago? So yeah, definitely that one. Honestly, to me, I always think that, each decade has something for someone. But if I can be completely honest, I think any decade that a broad amount of influences or genres are represented is the best decade. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Sorry, my headphones fell. I think for this reason, the 70s are probably, in my opinion, the best decade. Mostly because there were so many genres that were in the forefront because of Black Americans. I think it was Black America in general had such an influence on pop music in the 20th century. It essentially became their genre. And so I find it pretty interesting how all of the musical inventions that Black Americans brought forth, how it influenced the rest of the world, in particular with how they interpreted or integrated certain things. Like, for example, the UK got a lot of their electronic cues, right, from what happened in Black America, right, from house music, and then a lot of like the breakbeat stuff, jungle, garage, uses a lot of rhythm and beats that derived from funk music. And then obviously in Japan, you had the whole city pop movement, which was directly like an interpolation essentially of Black American R&B, disco, funk, whatever have you. So it was really interesting not only to see that, but then also in the 70s we had that wave of like, I don't know if new age music started in the 60s, but definitely in the 70s there seemed to be a huge surface of like new age music, new age collectives, where, you know, it became really popular to like write songs that were specifically for meditating or specifically for like just sitting and thinking. I know IDM eventually derived from that, but like, yeah, I mean, I think the 70s were so varied and so influential in any way, shape, in every way, shape, or form. I mean, I know some people will say that about the 60s as well. I personally am less connected to the 60s, although I do think the 60s just have some great music. And I think a lot of the bands that did well in the 70s, or at least even that had any kind of influence in the 70s, you know, got their inspiration from the 60s and etc., etc. So yeah, I think the 70s was probably the best decade for music, in my personal opinion. I could change my mind, but I think every other decade before the 70s was too focused on one genre or one audience or one influence, and obviously in any way, shape, or form, right? But I feel like the 70s was really when music started to like diversify, or popular music started to diversify, and the things that people listened to, there seemed to be a lot of crossover and a lot of sharing. That's really the best way I can put it. Man, I'm realizing a lot about my music listening habits through these questions, because I just realized that I don't really listen to music of this topic. Surprisingly, actually. I say surprisingly, but I shouldn't be all that surprised, honestly, knowing me. However, the first song that came to mind actually was Inside My Love by Minnie Riperton. I think maybe because we were talking about 70s music, but yeah, Inside My Love, Minnie Riperton. Honestly, I struggle with songs particularly about this topic, because I find that there's a lack of romance to the way people approach this topic. I find it's very kind of like, you know, I would illustrate it very differently. I actually almost went into Hozier's catalog just now, just to see if any songs that I've listened to of his were about this topic. But otherwise, I have no idea. I think the reason why is also because I find that like too many people don't leave anything to the imagination when they sing about this topic. There's nothing mysterious or illustrious or sensual or even like, I don't know. It lacks a particular type of charm. It's too straightforward, too blunt, you know, and some people might like that, but for me, I don't really like that. I like metaphors, you know? So for me, when it comes to this topic in general, I actually tend to listen to music that probably don't, like the artist's intention was not about this topic. However, I can interpret it that way. Or maybe the song itself has no lyrics and it just sets the mood. Or maybe even the song is in a different language, but it sets the mood. Yeah, because if it's about this topic explicitly, then I'm not particularly interested, because there's no finesse in how people deliver the, you know, musical experience. My love language, I have no idea. Consideration. You know, I've always loved Pegasus, or rather I should say the Pegasus, since I was little. There's something about the combination of both a horse and a bird, something with great wings. If not that, then a dragon, again, because of the whole wings thing, and the fact that they can fly. Or it's more than the fact that they can fly, it's the fact that they can soar. But I'm gonna have to go with the Pegasus. Yeah, there's something about the fact that they can run fast and far on land and then take off with their big wings in the sky. I've always found something really magical about the idea of a Pegasus. My most favorite emoji, honestly, I haven't had a phone in years, so I wouldn't even be able to go into like recent history to check what my most used emoji would have been. I do use instant messaging on desktop to talk to people who are important to me. The list is very small. So I would say, you know what? Just from recollection, I think it's the pink heart with the stars, the glittering stars on it. I think it's called the admiration heart. Yeah, that one.